is no longer the supreme being on this planet.
The organism is growing at a geometric rate. By all accounts, it's at least 1,000 times its original mass.
Nobody believes me about what happened tonight.
What did happen? I want that organism alive.
I think you pissed it off.
The Blob. Terror has no shape.
The Blob is a horror sci-fi thriller movie that was released on August 5th, 1988, and is a remake of a 1950s movie of the same name with Steve McQueen. I've not seen the original, so I can't really compare this one to it, so don't expect any comparisons to the original. Expect me to just give my objective thoughts on this movie alone. That being said, let's begin with the story. The story follows a reddish, purplish, gelatinous blob that comes from a meteorite and wreaks havoc on a small town. A biker teen named Brian Flagg and a cheerleader named Meg Penny get saved by a hazmat team that are in actuality scientists trying to contain this blob, including one who believes it is a phenomenon. The story is actually pretty fucking good. First of all, I really think that the concept of a blob being the monster in a horror movie is a pretty fucking good idea. But that's not all I have to say about the story. Not even close. The movie begins by focusing on a football player named Paul, and actually focuses on him a lot. This is because he is the girlfriend of Meg, and they are planning a little date for each other. But Paul actually ends up being one of the first people to die at the hands of the blob. Brian, the biker teen, ends up taking the place as our male lead. The movie basically tricked the audience into thinking that Paul was going to be the main character, and that Brian was only a secondary foil, only to have Brian take center stage. This aspect has always really fascinated me. But what makes it all work is that Brian is a pretty fucking good character. He is a rebellious biker dude who drinks alcohol and smokes and has a shit ton of edge. But he's also a really decent person. He is never intentionally apathetic or cold. Even when Meg criticizes him for jumping to conclusions about the scientists that saved them, Brian does not trust them and thinks they're up to something shady. And you know what? He turns out to be right. It could have been so fucking easy to go the other way around, but they decided against that decision. Even Meg is not that bad of a character. She could have been the typical fucking horror movie girl, being all fearful throughout, but I think she has some edge to her. The part where she shoots the blob is evidence of that alone. That was a fucking good scene. I even like how the priest is shown to be fascinated by the blob and plans something that is vague, but whatever it is, it will probably be devious. It helps me see the movie on a completely different level. I think what this movie is trying to get across is that people who may seem like bad people might actually be good people. And people who seem like good people might not really be good people at all. It actually understands the nuances of life. But we should ask a very important question. Is this movie scary? Well, that depends on your point of view. Personally, I've never been scared at any horror movie I've ever watched. Mainly because I was much older when I started watching them, and I already had a pretty war-hardened stomach to be okay with them. But the most scary thing I got out of this movie was just the fact that the Blob is killing innocent people who realistically did nothing wrong. But it did not make me fucking scream or anything. But I can understand why people might find it scary. And to the movie's credit, the panic seemed very legitimate. Now, is this movie entertaining? Absolutely. It has really fucking good writing and has that kind of rebellious nature to it, albeit very subtly. Sure, it has a bit of an 80s feel to it, but not enough to be really goddamn cheesy. Besides, the climactic action scene at the end is really fucking good. There is plenty of brutal gunplay and some explosions. I really like how they find out that the Blob's weakness is the cold. Brian even gets out a snowmobile and drives it towards the gelatinous prick. That was a nice touch. It's also worth mentioning that I really like the part when Brian fires a bazooka toward a sewer door that won't open. Fucking genius. I could talk about the story forever, so let's move on to the production values. The cinematography, editing, sound, and sets are pretty good. The visual effects are a mixed bag. The practical effects are pretty good, but the CGI has not aged well. But I can easily ignore that fact. The music is kind of a mixed bag, too. The score is not memorable in the goddamn slightest, but I really like the song used in the end credits, which is A Brave New Love by Alien. It is a goddamn banger. Overall, The Blob, the 1988 version, is a pretty enjoyable horror movie. It has surprisingly good characters and writing, and has an entertaining climax. And it's just a fun movie to watch. The only downsides are that it can be corny at times, but the more gritty and scary shit cancels out those moments, to be honest. Also, the CG is very dated, which takes me out of the experience a little bit, but at the end of the day, I still enjoy this movie for the aspects I really do like. And that's all that really matters in the end. I give The Blob, the 1988 version, 4 out of 5 stars, with the title of Awesome. Anyway, I'm Spike Robot. If you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel, and see you later. Support our troops.
I've got